Hi, this is Jamie Shanks. I'm the CEO of Sales for Life, and I want to be able to deploy a really fantastic tip that you can use for digital account based selling. This is where social selling and account based sales development are going to cram together so that you become a digital account based seller. Let me show you this one particular tip. And it actually has to do with account selection, and this is typically where we see sellers falling down the most. They're falling down because, and this is a fantastic statistic from Topo, it's around time management. Almost 84% of SDRs, and forget that it says SDRs, just sellers in general, fail to hit consistent sales quota because in large part of time management challenges. That is the risk. Here is your opportunity to take advantage of that. Because if you were to look at the dynamics between an SDR, we'll call it inside sales, and their AEs, their field sales team. Here's where they butt heads. The AE tells the inside sales team, go after these accounts. And the AE just blindly calls in, but they don't even understand why. And typically, account selection, either being driven from the top or from AEs or by the own devices of the sellers themselves, is based on wallet share. These are like pulling up a list of the largest companies off of Google, or you bought a newspaper and it showed the top 25 companies in a particular account, and you started calling A through Z. And it makes sense. I mean, from a strategic standpoint, you want these logos. The biggest problem, though, is the velocity of these deals. You didn't take into account that you have a quota every month or every quarter that you need to hit. And trying to win the Microsoft deal or trying to win the Walmart deal might take you 3 years. That does not help you with quota attainment next quarter, next year. So what we want to do is an intermixture of balancing, whether we focus on a named accounts through geography or through a vertical. We want to have balance amongst our account list. Say we are allowed to ring fence 25 accounts. Make 22 of them the way that you've always sold. Make 3 of them something called social proximity. Social proximity is leveraging the relationships within 1 degree of separation of your own successes. And in fact, to mechanize this, Sales for Life, we've called this the sphere of influence methodology. And here's what I'd like you to do. I want you to rip off a sheet of paper. You can hear me rustling right now. I'm going to rip off a sheet of paper, and I want you to write down on that sheet of paper the last customer that your company just won. Take a moment, write it down. Right in the center where it says existing customers. Then what I want you to do is draw a circle around that company and start plotting out, and this is at a conceptual level, and I'm going to show you at a tactical level. These are the companies that actually care about those logos. Those are people that used to work at that company, people that work at that company today, people that compete with that company, people that are vendors and partners to that particular company. And then you as a person have your own sphere of influence. These are your mom. These are your friends from university. These are your current friends. These are people and companies that if you were to tell the story of the logo that you put in the center, your best customer, if you told that story to these people, they actually care. And it would mean something to them. So let's talk about this at a tactical level. So here's a real life example. So imagine you win New Horizons Learning Centers, largest IT training company in the world. You've just won that account. It's 90 days into the project and you're having great success. Now what I'd like you to do is reverse engineer where you're going to take that story and to whom. So imagine going into LinkedIn and reverse engineering everyone that used to work at New Horizons that's now the vice president of X or the CXO of your buyer persona. Then you go on Google, reverse engineer all of their direct competitors. And then you take the people, that means the champions, the decision makers, the influencers, who leveraged your solution, who know your story, and dive into their social networks. What CXOs do they know? Because that is the circle around the customer New Horizon. And these are the only people that actually care about that story, but are most apt to help you along a journey to get you new opportunities. So let's actually do this in real time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop into LinkedIn. And so imagine what I'm going to do is I'm going to take customers that we end up winning. So under the company tab, what I'm looking for are people that no longer work there. So imagine I'm looking up customers, Teleperformance USA, language line. And so I start reverse engineering Rimney Street. I start thinking of customers that we've just ended up winning. Moment feed. And all of a sudden, you start gathering all of this information. Hughes Networks. These are existing customers where we're deploying projects. And there have been 13,000 people that have left these organizations. But now, under the title search, what if I looked up, and I could have done it by function, what if I looked up Vice President of Sales? And all of a sudden, there are now 22. And of course, we can add all of our customers on here. And we could refine by function, geography, size of organization that meets your buyer persona. I don't want you to get hung up by what I'm clicking on. I want you to think about the concept. It is 6 times cheaper and easier to sell to a company and to a person that you've already sold to in the past than it is to go find a net new logo. So imagine I'm watching people up and leave from our customer base, and I want to tell them the story of the successes we've had with companies. So I'm going to hit search. There have been 22 people. 22 people that used to be the VP of Business Development at a customer. And sometimes that happened a long time ago, and sometimes it's happened recently. And so all of this information is here, which I could leverage to opening up a door. Now, what I'm going to do is these individuals, this is a historical pattern of people. What I can do is save these searches and have these searches provide me new insights as changes happen. Now imagine, from a business development standpoint, if you took all of your customers, and let's say you sold into the IT departments. So there are 5 or 6 decision makers, champions, and influencers in the IT buyer persona that you go after. And you start mapping every CIO, CTO, VP of data security, engineering managers, and all of a sudden, every time somebody leaves the IT department of one of your customers, and they go to a company that meets your territory, or ends up meeting the size of companies or the industries and verticals you like to go after, you get an alert. This is your gateway into these companies. So what I'm doing is ignoring this historical information, but I'm in fact creating myself a future pipeline of opportunity. Okay? But remember when we were talking about the sphere of influence, we realized that people have their own sphere of influence. So imagine what I'm going to do, and this is where you in business development are going to partner with your customer success team. What you're going to do is realize that people have their own sphere of influence. And so let's assume we won the InsideSales.com account. And we've been working with Gabe. It's been 6 months, fantastic guy, a lot of great insights, and would feel comfortable being a referral source to us because of the great work we've done. Now we have to identify who's within Gabe's sphere of influence. And by using social tools, I can reverse engineer the fact that Gabe has 921st degree LinkedIn connections. And this, I'm going to show you where companies typically fail and fall on their face. Because what they'll do is they'll jump in here and they'll say, okay, Gabe, what are all the vice presidents of sales that Gabe knows? And by doing this, yes, he's got 43. I wouldn't even know where to start. And where the referral process breaks down is sellers will say, Gabe, introduce me to one of the VPs of sales that you know. He doesn't know where to start. He doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know how to begin. He didn't even realize that he had 43 VPs of sales. So you haven't honed in on where he should concentrate. What I want you to do now is to think differently. I want you to think through somebody else's sphere of influence. And what I'm going to have you do is let's actually go back and let's start on Gabe's network again. And let's begin here. We'll look up Gabe. And I'm going to have you think through how you go after his particular sphere of influence. I'm going to hit his 500 LinkedIn connections, and we're going to drop into his account. 500 plus LinkedIn connections. There's 920. What LinkedIn does a great job of doing is actually helping you identify a person's sphere of influence up front. And they give the social proximity roadmap to you. And in fact, it's here on the left-hand side under company. By clicking on InsideSales.com and highlighting it, it's suggested other companies that Gabe has the greatest social proximity around. Gallup and Proofpoint. And so as an example, this is an association, AAISP, American Association of Inside Sales Professionals, and so is Sales Enablement Society. So by selecting them, in a way, I'm deselecting them. What I'm doing is I'm pushing them to the top, and it's giving me 4 accounts to concentrate on. Now, these are the 4 accounts that I want to hone in on. Gabe knows 20 people there, and it turns out it's because he used to work there. And at Proofpoint and Kronos, these are customers that he's highly engaged with. He knows a lot of senior people there. Instead of me asking Gabe, can you introduce me to one of the VPs of sales you know? He wouldn't know where to start, and I don't even really know the strength of the relationship he has. What I can bank on is that Gabe has enough social proximity, enough of that networking power with Gallup and social proximity, with Gallup and Kronos, to make a difference, to actually get me in the door. So what I can actually do is start thinking of the companies that I want an introduction to. I'm going to select those particular companies. I'm going to look at Gallup, and now I can start thinking through, he knows partners of this particular firm, managing partner, now all of a sudden, chief talent officer. Now I know where to concentrate my efforts. These 2 tips around account selection are going to dramatically accelerate your ability into a deal. Looking at the social proximity around people that used to work at your customers, and looking at the sphere of influence and social proximity around people's social networks and how they can introduce you are going to make a massive difference for you.